Hey, Dr. Buck.
Hey, Ashley.
We've been working with some interns, so we're seeing that sports psychology is becoming something more prevalent.
Correct.
What's something you can encourage students who are looking to get into sports psychology? What's something you can encourage them to do?
I'm a little bit out of the box, so I'm not a fan of just graduate school alone. I don't think it teaches enough, and internships and working for teams. Working for a team obviously would be immensely valuable just because you're getting so much experience. But that said, I think living abroad, traveling abroad, doing things that require more courage and more creativity are going to help you train your mind. And you also want to train your mind a lot, regardless of whether you travel or not. Meditative states, mindfulness practice, visualization, breath work. You want to start living the things that you're teaching. That's what I do. And the abroad thing is just a metaphor for having more courage and more creativity. So you want to live this thing, and then you can teach it.
Hey, Dr. Buck.
Hey, Ashley.
In really intense situations in games, how do you encourage athletes, especially at a professional level, to sort of come back to the moment and communicate properly with their teammates instead of just going full barbarian on them?
Yeah, well, so, look, if they're, on the bench or something, right, they have an opportunity to work on their breathing before they communicate. 4 or 5 seconds in, 4 or 5 second hold, 4 or 5 second release, 4 or 5 second hold, basic box breathing, or just slowing it down and working on their breath in general, get them a little more patient, a little bit more poised. It's a better way to communicate, right? You're from a better place to start with. So you want to work on you first, and then from there the communication flows. And then I'm teaching everybody how to communicate without the URs, right? You're teaching everybody, seems like, sounds like, feels like certain techniques that have a lot of value.
Hey, Dr. Buck.
Hey, Ashley.
What would you tell a pro athlete who's struggling, on the family side of things? You're pro athletes, so you're traveling a lot. Your wife is putting pressure on you. How do you help them deal with that part?
Yeah, so that one's not uncommon, and it's super tricky and challenging, and it has to be addressed. And it's like anything else, it's going to be, you need to be proactive. Obviously, if you have children, it gets complicated and everything. But the communication piece is a big part of what we work on, no matter what kind of athlete I'm working with. Pro athletes in particular, if they're traveling a lot, the communication is going to have to be higher. And when they are home, or they are with their partner, or their wife, or whomever, they're working on being as present as possible, because when you're present, you're enhancing your experience in the relationship, and that's valuable.
Hey, Dr. Buck.
Hey, Ashley.
How can athletes maintain that laser sharp focus, that high level of intensity, and still have a fun life?
Yeah, so that's part of the intention, right, is to make it fun along the way. And people lose that, not just athletes, but higher level athletes in particular. There's much more pressure, right? And so if they're not careful, they're not mindful, then they will lose some of the fun along the way. I'm a sounding board and a reminder in part for making the process more fun. Meditative states help a lot as well. I always talk about this because when you go into those deeper meditative states, it gives you more perspective, right? That this thing is fleeting, it's fast, this journey called life, and your time as a pro athlete is going to be fast. So you want to enjoy it before the end of your career.
Hey, Dr. Buck.
Hey, Ashley.
Sometimes eating can be emotional. What do you do when you're dealing with an athlete who's more of an emotional eater?
Yeah, I think often eating can be emotional. So you're teaching them how to manage their stress levels throughout the day so they don't get to nighttime or something where they're just unconsciously emotionally eating because they've been stressed throughout the day. So we're getting people a little bit more on point all the time, more self-aware around their mental and emotional states. And as your self-awareness enhances, then the next level is self-discipline. And so we're always working on a combination of self-awareness and self-discipline. As that raises, then your choices are going to get better everywhere.
Hey, Dr. Buck.
Hey, Ashley.
Can someone develop the mental game it takes to be a pro athlete?
Yeah, the mental game is learnable. I mean, I do think that, some people are a little more gifted than other people. Some people are going to jump on a grenade in a foxhole, and some people will, literally, break down and cry. So I think there is a big separation between some people that are more mentally tough, by the time they're an adolescent than other kids, right? So but a lot of it can be learned. You can, gradually expose yourself to uncomfortable situations and develop the toughness and train your mind. Martial arts is a great way to do that. So is exposure, by traveling solo, eating solo, living internationally. There's a lot of ways to enhance your courage and train your focus. Meditative states can be really, really powerful, but you want exposure to lack of comfort on a consistent basis.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
How do you help them? What is your role as a sports psychologist in terms of helping them negotiate contracts and things of that nature?
Well, you mean in terms of pro athletes? Mm-hmm. It's really about, teaching them how to honor themselves and trust their instincts and their intuition and ask the right questions, right? So I'm always helping people, whether they're a pro or not, develop and trust their intuition. I'm asking questions like, what does your gut say? And then I'm also part sounding board there as they explore that process, but I'm helping them get really proactive and handle agents, managers, and so on, straight up, directly, and with a high level of proactivity.
Awesome. Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
If an athlete feels like his career is sort of plateauing, how do you help them sort of get through that?
Well, plateauing can occur anywhere, and so I like to help people change their states, revitalize their energy. So breath work, meditation, most of these athletes are exercising really well, but their relationships can affect their level of proactivity and their plateauing nature, right? Meaning you can get to a place where if you're eating poorly or drinking too much or partying too much or just not really paying attention to your energy level at the next level, then you're going to plateau. So really it's about enhancing your focus and enhancing your energy field.
Yes. Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
Team is performing excellent. All the coach does is just give them negative feedback all the time. So what would you tell the coach?
Yeah, so that's not uncommon, and I do have coaches that I coach, but in that case, if the person doesn't, if the kid is like a team captain or something, he can actually have a personal conversation with the coach or a series of them to let the coach know in really decent ways that, hey, what are we doing right here? So, that's something that can be addressed. It's not easy because people are often fearful in situations like that. But so what? I'm teaching everybody to be proactive motherfuckers here, basically.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
What's something that surprises you the most about dealing with people's mental game?
Just how hard it is for almost everybody. Almost everybody struggles with it. And, I've never interviewed Tiger Woods, but, Djokovic will say how hard it is. And the guy is probably the best on the planet, right? So it's not easy for anybody. And for the people that it appears to be easy, most of them, they've worked pretty hard on it. I suppose some people are a little bit more gifted, a little more clutch than other people, right? For sure. There are probably genetic components to it. And some people had better parenting around focus than other people. But regardless, the better you get, the more enhanced your focus is, the more you work at it.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
What's one of the things you find the hardest about encouraging people to eat healthy?
Just so many Doritos options. And I always tell everybody, I love Doritos. So if you want to eat your Doritos, that's fine, but just don't do it every day. So we just want to make better and better choices more and more often, right? I'm constantly doing the sockeye salmon from Trader Joe's as just my protein source in the morning. And it's just amazing. It's such a better choice than the bagel or whatever, right?
The waffles.
So you're paying attention to the waffles. So you're paying attention to your energy level. Certain foods you eat, you burn cleaner. Certain foods you eat, you feel like crap right away.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
As athletes get to higher levels, what are some of the biggest distractions they face?
I mean, Trevor Bauer with the woman thing, that could be pretty rough, right? So you got to be really selective about who you're, sleeping with or who you're being with, right? So relationships are a huge distraction. They can be a source of obviously positive energy and inspiration, but you got to be really careful there about who you put in your inner circle, right? That one's super, super important. And then just the pressure you're putting on yourself at higher levels. There's just more expectations and higher pressure. And so that's why meditative states and getting centered and grounded in you is so fundamental.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
You just get out of college. It's your first spring training. It's your first, camp. It's your first whatever. What are you telling this kid going into it?
Well, the key is to have fun because otherwise it could be too much pressure. So there's often a tendency to put too much pressure on yourself as a top athlete. It could be as a business person, it could be anywhere in life, but the higher you go, the more the pressure is. And so you want to remember to enjoy the moments and enjoy the process as well and make it fun along the way.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
You have a college student who's torn between a six-figure job and going pro as an athlete. How do you help them navigate which one would be a better decision for them?
A six-figure job and a pro athlete. I mean, in terms of
they're a home run all around.
Yeah, I mean, I'm adventurous by nature, so I'm biased, and I'm upfront with my biases. Like, if it's creative and an adventure, it takes some courage. I'm gonna, when you're young, if you don't do it when you're young, when are you gonna do it? So you can always work in an office. Like, you have a window here as an athlete, especially as a top athlete.
Nice. That's good. Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
What's one of the most important attributes a coach needs to have in order to take their athletes from a bad season to a great season?
I mean, obviously, the nature of coaching is more all in than other professions in some ways. So obviously the all in piece is key. The caring piece, the motivation piece, flexibility, adaptability, creativity, resiliency. I mean, they need that as much as the players need it. So especially the flexibility and the ability to adjust things either in the moment, in the quarter, as the game progresses. That's really important.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
What's one of the hardest parts about getting to the next level? Going from the college to the professional level.
I mean, part of it is your enhanced focus and your intention. I mean, and really about your routines and your habits. Meaning, you got to get more and more and more on point and super, super determined, because it is like a pyramid. It's being, you are being funneled and weeded out. I mean, there's just more and more competition and there's less spots. So the intensity of the focus and determination needs to be through the roof, and your routines need to match that.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
You have a college athlete.
Yeah.
Everybody wants him. Top pick, Heisman winner, all Pro Bowl. Grades start slipping. He knows he's going to the pros. Grades just to crap. What are you going to tell him?
Well, you got to get your act together in every area. This is part of on point energy, right? And so we're getting on point, academically, because it will affect the rest of his life, because those are habits too. And so, if he's sloppy in one area, he's likely to be sloppy in another area, and that can go for her as well.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
What are mental game techniques you give to athletes to enhance their focus and concentration during games?
Yeah, so the meditation, the mindfulness, the visualization, the breath work, the positive self-talk, and what I call enhanced communication skills, the ability to handle things in the moment as often as possible. The more we do the fundamentals of the mental game here, the better we get in general. And then we're building this crazy foundation so we can default into more presence, as opposed to what most people default into, more worry or more head.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
When an athlete on the pro level is hurt, when do they know when it's time to start exploring other careers?
Well, when it's usually it can be either a catastrophic injury like Bo Jackson, right? Something catastrophic, or it can be a series of injuries. And then, it's kind of like when you have a pet towards the end, they start to, you get warning signs. And so, when you have a series of injuries, 1, 2, 3, 4 years in a row, and you're just not healthy, then, that's a warning sign. It might be time to start exploring elsewhere.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
You talk a lot about mindfulness, visualization. What role does that play in bringing someone from, a D3 to a D1 and then to college or to pro?
Yeah, so one of the D3s that I coach has gotten more and more ambitious, and he wants to get drafted. Some D3s can get drafted, right? That's going to require next level of focus, commitment to excellence. But in his case, we got to make it playful again, because he's so determined. He's gotten overly serious. So paradoxically, you still want to make the process fun.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
Aside from physical skills, what mental skills separate good athletes from great athletes?
Mostly in what I call enhanced focus, the ability to hone in and focus intensely, and yet not overly intensely. Like it's like an intense, relaxed focus. It's paradoxical, but the ability to hone in and drop in the zone, and that is unique to top athletes and to people that train their minds.
Hey, Dr. Wright.
Hey, Ashley.
Games aren't actually long. How do you encourage athletes to get right back into the moment?
Well, that's part of your journey off the field for on the field and vice versa. Everywhere you go, you're training your mind. So we're bringing our focus back into the moment by breathing, observing, and or communicating. This kind of process is something that we're doing everywhere in life. You go on a date, you're training your mind, right? You're having a conversation with your mom, you're training your mind. So wherever you go, I'm inviting people to train their freaking mind. So when they're on the field, it's just easier.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
How do you teach athletes to become more disciplined and balanced about their eating without being obsessive and disordered about it?
Yeah, and that's a process and a journey, Ashley. It's not something that happens overnight, but you're gradually replacing garbage with less garbage and eventually making healthier and healthier choices. As you do that, your focus will be enhanced. As your focus gets enhanced, it's reinforcing. So as your habits get better and better and better, you're going to enjoy yourself more.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
What are some common issues you see with pro athletes more so than you see with like college or, younger athletes?
Well, now it's changing, because some of the college athletes can, get sponsorships and money and so on. But, with the pros, the contracts are issues, right? So it gets a little complicated with agents and contracts and just making sure that you're taking care of yourself that way, negotiating those things.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
You have an athlete who's a top-performing athlete, but his coach just doesn't seem to quite know how to communicate with him. What are you going to tell him?
Well, I'm going to get the athlete to become a better communicator and get really proactive with the coach. So maybe the coach might not have the super high skill sets, but if I'm coaching the athlete, eventually they will.
Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
You got a top athlete. He's clearly performing well, but his coach just can't seem to communicate with him properly.
Okay.
Hold on, what's I'm about to sneeze. It's happening, I promise.
Bless you. Bless you, my child.
Thank you. Hey, Dr. Brett.
Hey, Ashley.
What would you tell a kid who has it? They have the talent, they have the looks, they have it all, but they don't quite have the mental game yet, and they think they don't need a sports psychologist.
If they think they don't need a sports psychologist, they'll find out at some point they might need one, right? I mean, look, I'm coaching a pro tennis player now, and his parents, got him started with me maybe like 9 months ago or something, or 6 months ago. It took 3 or 4 months for him to fully embrace my philosophy and what we're up to and to embrace the mental game. And now he gets it. So sometimes it takes a little while that's the art of my end of the equation, is to kind of motivate them to understand, how and why this is so important. If they're not ready, they're not ready. So some kids just aren't going to be ready, and that's okay.